Rent is expensive, especially nowadays. I mean, you have to tap your 401k at the beginning of every month to handle it. So now you're thinking, what if I got my own place? Could I afford it? I don't know, even the cardboard boxes being sold at 4th and Long are pretty pricey houses. Well, this video is here to help you answer that question. I'm here to help you determine if you're actually ready to make the biggest purchase of your life without strapping you financially into a paycheck to paycheck lifestyle. All right, settle yourself in, grab some hot cocoa and maybe some whipped cream. Let's jump into a step-by-step of buying a home. First question, have you paid off all your debt? I'm talking credit cards, student loans, personal loans, car loans, because if you haven't, I'm gonna push you towards doing that first. When you have those payments, it makes owning a home much more stressful and difficult, especially when your furnace magically doesn't turn on in November. Listen, I know the feeling, it's cold when the furnace doesn't work. I'm always encouraging viewers to use the baby steps. That's Ramsey Solutions' method for paying off debt and increasing wealth. First step is save the $1,000 starter emergency fund. Second step, pay off all your consumer debt. I know the house is calling, but home ownership is gonna be so much less stressful with no debt. Next question, do you have an emergency fund? Yeah, $1,000. No, a full emergency fund. We're talking 3 to 6 months of expenses. This is called baby step 3 and will give you the most buffer between you and the cardboard boxes being sold on 4th and Long. Figure out what your necessities cost per month. Multiply by the number of months that you would be most comfortable with having covered by an emergency fund. And knock out those savings like splurging on some whipped cream depends on it. Also, side note, if you do purchase a house, you'll have to increase this because you'll always have more emergencies to deal with in home ownership, like when your plumbing breaks. Now that's a crappy situation you don't want to be in. Just keep that in mind. Next question, do you have a down payment saved? If you've already got your debt paid off and your emergency fund saved, figure out about how much house you'll need and then save a down payment for it. And don't skimp on the down payment. There's a lot of banks out there that are trying to get you to buy a home with only a 3% down payment. It sounds nice until you see the monthly payment. I'm really going to encourage you to save a 10% down payment at a minimum. But if you're able to, I want you to save 20% if at all possible, and here's why. 20% gets you out of the woods, the PMI woods. PMI stands for Private Mortgage Insurance. It's what protects the mortgage company if you default on your loan. And people who put 20% down are statistically less likely to default, which is why they don't have to pay PMI. The problem for you is if you don't put 20% down, then PMI is not cheap. NerdWallet estimates it between 0.58% and 1.86% of the original loan amount. So let's say you buy a $350,000 house with a 10% down payment, so that puts us at $315,000 for a loan. If we take the average PMI of 1.22%, that's $320 extra that you'll be putting towards your monthly payment in addition to your principal, interest, taxes, and insurance. That's an extra $3,800 per year that's not going to principal. You're gonna pay PMI until you hit 20% equity of the original purchase price. If you can, save 20% and you will not regret it. Unfortunately, when you save for your down payment, you'll also have to save for closing costs, so keep that in mind too. Now, if you're finding this video helpful, then give it a like. And also, you can subscribe. About 95% of you that watch my channel are not. Next question, how much would the home that you're looking at cost you on a monthly basis? Okay, the monthly payment is going to be broken up into 4 parts: principal, interest, taxes, and insurance, or PITI. Shoot for this combined amount to be less than 25% of your take-home pay on a 15-year fixed-rate loan. I know, 25% sounds insane, especially for a 15-year loan and especially in this market. But I'm telling you, if you can make it happen, you will not regret it, because keeping it at 25% of your take-home pay is going to minimize the stress of making payments, and keeping it at a 15-year loan is going to minimize the number of years that you're indebted to the bank. Okay, not to be the bearer of bad news, but PITI is not the only parts of a mortgage payment that you may have to think about. PMI is one if you're not putting 20% down on your loan, and it could be $300 per month as we established earlier. And an HOA is another if you move into an area where that's required. In Central Ohio, that might be $200 or more. That means it could be an extra $500 per month depending on where you live and what you buy. Again, 25% of your take-home pay is a tough pill to swallow, but you can't argue with math, and keeping it to 25% is really going to give you the buffer that you need, so you're not living in the margins of your financial life. My wife and I did exactly this when we purchased our home. We bought a $200,000 house in an area that we could afford with a payment that wouldn't exceed 25% of our take-home pay on a 15-year fixed-rate loan. That meant buying a place that needed a little bit of TLC. Okay, a lot of TLC, but we did a lot of the work ourselves with much help from family and friends. Okay, last question. Have you considered home maintenance? I can tell you from experience, maintenance is going to hit your budget hard. But if you're prepared for it, it's going to be okay. Most likely. And trust me, maintenance is a lot easier to cash flow if you aren't spread too thin with your monthly payments. See the last timestamp of this video. Like I said, my wife and I bought an older house that needed some work, but not all work that needed to be done at the same time. So we've been cash flowing fixes over the last 3 years. Since we bought our house, we replaced our roof, replaced soffit, fascia, and gutters, replaced the furnace and a ton of plumbing, added insulation to literally the whole place. Then did a number of extra things that really helped improve our quality of living and the property value. We added cabinets in the kitchen, built-ins in the living room. We extended the driveway, replaced an old shed with a new barn, replaced the patio, repainted the entire inside of the house. But the good news is we've been able to cash flow every single one of these things because we followed exactly what I've laid out in this video. So what I want you to do is look at each house with the glasses of a general contractor. That doesn't mean that you need to know exactly what everything will cost, but at least get a feel for what the major things will cost. Ask about the age of the furnace, the AC, the hot water heater. Then purchase the home knowing that you're gonna have to save for the things that need to be replaced sooner than later, and that some things will pop up as emergencies too. Homeownership is super exciting, sometimes in a good way, sometimes not. But the one thing you can control is your financial situation going into homeownership, which is why I want you to see all the ugly details before you go into it. Now give this video a like if it was helpful and watch this video next.